Hi everybody and welcome, and today we're going to take a little look at trees. Now if you go onto YouTube, there's lots of different modelers that will show you how to make trees, and basically they really are all the same, especially if you do a wireframe. Now this is my take on a tree, and it is a wire base, and I use seafoam. It takes a little bit longer to make, but I always think you don't get nothing out if you don't put anything in. So I shall get set up, and I'll run through how I actually make my trees. Okay, now what I'm actually using is, this is florist wire. The reason I'm using a florist wire is because I was in town. I went to buy my young lady some flowers, and I noticed they were actually using this to make up different things. So I asked if I could buy some, and they said yes. And it comes in, this is a 100 ml. I think it's 100 ml. Let's just check that. Where are we? No, this is 200 ml. This is 200 ml long. I bought, I think it was a bundle of 500 lengths, and I think it was a grand total of about £1.99, and I have checked and it still is the same price. You can actually get it in 300s and 400 lengths, but the 200 length does me quite nicely. And the nice thing about the florist wire is that it does actually grip against itself when you're trying to twist it. So this is a bundle of 35 lengths roughly, and the way I start by twisting one end as tight as I can get it, and then super glue, and I literally just dip the end in, and then I put that to one side to dry. Now I'm going to be making about 3 trees altogether, because these 3 trees are going to be sent to a very good friend of mine, Mr. Steve Mottram, because I did promise him I would do him some trees a long time ago, and it was one of the things I never got round to doing. So into the super glue again, and we'll just leave them to dry for a good 10 or 15 minutes because we don't want to be stuck to them. So I should be back in a few seconds when they're dry. Okay, this is nice and dry. Now trees are open to a lot of artistic license, for the simple reason is a scale of a tree, whatever scale you do, is going to be right, because there's always going to be a tree that you can convert back to 32, 35, 135 scale, sorry, or 172, because there's going to be a tree out there that size. So what I normally do is I start twisting this up like so, and then to a point at the top we start actually making the branches. Now I split them off into 4s. 1, 2, 3, 4, and take it round the rest, and then we just split them in 2, and we just start twisting like so. I know it's a little bit monotonous, but it's like I say, you don't get nothing out if you don't put anything in. Now we twist them round, and then we start creating loops. We just loop one. What I normally do is loop one and then keep one in the centre, and then start twisting off again. I hope you can see that with my big hands blocking. we just keep twisting until we get a little loop, like so. And I'm not prepared here. I normally cut these as I go along. You can do whatever you want, but I like to cut these and spread them out, and then do exactly the same thing again in another loop and start twisting off like so, and cut that loop, and then we start working off on this one, like so. I'm hoping you can see all this. Getting so far, making another loop and then twisting off again. Like so. Slipping the wire and opening it up. And it is really up to you how many loops you do, in which direction, because it always looks good. Like so. And snipping it off like so. So we've got a semi branch there started. I'll just do exactly the same again. Another 4. When I get hold of 4, and I twist and bring the branch up a small section, and then we start all over again. I've only got 3 there, look. Bring another one round, like so, and then start twisting again, and we do exactly the same as what we've done on the other side, splitting them off into 2s and just keep creating branches, and we just keep working our way up. Now I won't sit there and go through creating the whole of it. I should do a couple. I'll come back to you and let you see what I've been up to, and we shall carry on like that. Okay, now I've done 5, and the last 3, you can see I'll split them off into 4s. I'm just going to make this like the top of the tree, so I'm just going to keep doing what we've been doing, is just twisting, making loops and cutting them as we go along. So I shall finish the top of the tree off, and then I shall come back to you. Okay, I'm up to the top, and we've got a rough looking tree. What we need to do now is these bits that you've actually cut is just to straighten them all out, like so. Just go all the way around and just pull these out, because these are your branches. Very easily done. So I'm going to pull all them out, like so. I won't bore you by sitting there and doing them. And I'll be back in a few minutes, and we'll get on with giving it some shape and some body, should I say. Okay, now all I've got here is a block of wood covered in cling film with a hole drilled in it, and it goes in roughly what, about 30mm, about 25mm, somewhere around there. So that just sits in there nice and straight. The cling film is because we're going to cover it in plaster, and we can create the actual root system. Then when we take it out, we've actually got something to actually push it into the diorama. Now we'll just move that out of the way for a second. Now all I'm going to be using is, I'll get the bag from around the back here. This is just standard decorator's filler. So we'll have a spoonful of that into a little tub. Put that out of the way. The next thing we're going to be using is PVA. A good glug of PVA. something to mix it with, and a tiny bit of water. The simple reason is the PVA, it will mix with the powder, but sometimes you need just a little bit of water just to loosen it back up again. Yeah, just a little tiny touch. That's all you need, is a little tiny touch. It's just to help it break it down. Now you just need a paste, but you want it brushable. You don't want it so it's too thick. Yeah, how thickness would you say that is? A bit like very thick cream. Very thick cream. And we'll just we'll do a little test on that. Now, excuse my big arm. Normally what I do, I start off with it in my hand. Might need a touch. And then we just start coating it. Yeah, it needs a little tiny bit more water. There we go. And then we start just coating all the branches. Like so. Not being too particular at the moment, because this stuff does take quite a while to dry, so you can, as it's drying, come back and thin out and build up as well. It's like areas around the stems, well, like the main trunks that come off. You can actually build these up all the way through. So that's what you do. You just keep building it up, and it's at a reasonable thickness that you can get it and get it to stay. So that's what I'll be doing now. I should be going all the way along these branches, and I think you get the basic idea on that. You do have to sort of do it from both sides as well, but it's not too essential, but it's just mainly just to get it covered and give the actual branches a little bit of wood, should I say. Now if you look on the ends here, you get like bubbles as you're doing it. Now don't panic about them, because what I normally do is I just trim them off as I'm going along when we start putting the seafoam on. So I'm going to put you on pause. I'm going to get all this done, but I'll come back to you when I start the actual main trunk. Alright, this ain't going to stand out. White background and white plaster. But we're down to the trunk now, and we literally just pack it on all the way around. I'm hoping you can see that. But as this stuff starts to dry, you can actually get a great sort of bark effect as it's drying. Let's get some more down there. So we're just covering the tree, and also put some around the actual bottom there, if you can see. Sorry about that, but you need to be all the way around it. And the nice thing about this as well, if you don't quite get enough on when it's dry, it's very easy just to come and make up a few areas. I still hope I'm still in shot. But I can't really show you till it starts to dry. But it will actually, if you use your brush, you can actually get that barky effect. It's almost there. Let's see if I can get that so you can see. Yes, excuse me for a second, because I will have to refocus this. There we go. So as it's drying, you can just pull the brush down it and you'll get even deeper bark effect. I do put quite a bit at the bottom and just create the root system. Which can easily be cleaned up if you don't require it, like so. I shall be coming back to that in a little while when it's dried off a little bit, and I shall be just taking these little blobs off and just making sure it all looks reasonably equal. You're not going to get it 100%, but a tree doesn't really grow nice and straight and even. So now I'm going to leave this. I'm going to leave this for a good, what, probably even about 12 hours. I'll probably even leave this till tomorrow to really let it go off, and then we'll go on straight on to getting the painting done. Okay, they've had overnight to dry, and as you can see, I've made another 2. Now they're all dry, and now we just get on to giving them a coat of paint. Now all I'm using is the Vallejo dipping wash, which should have a used tin there. It's the game colour, and it's just a wash, and that is it. I'm not going to prime them or anything like that. We're just going to go straight with the wash, and all I'm going to do, because as you can see the wash is pretty strong, all we're going to do is we're going to give that a coat. Well, I'm going to give all of them a coat first of just the black wash. So I'm going to get on with that and save you sitting there watching me do that, but you get the basic drift. Giving it all underneath and all the ends everywhere a coat of the black wash. Now I should get all 3 of them done in the black, leave them to dry, and then I shall be back again. Right, they've had a coat of the black, and looking on the camera they look pretty patchy, which I'm not too fussed about, because we're going to give it another coat of wash, and this time we're going to use, when I get into shot, is the Vallejo. This is another game wash. It's a dipping wash, and it's a brown, and all I'm going to do is do exactly the same as I did with the black. We just give it another coat all over, but this one, well, not actually heavy, but a good coverage, should I say. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to cover all these branches. Now you don't have to do it by paintbrush, you can get your airbrush out. It's just that I like brushing. I like using the paintbrush, and the time this would take with an airbrush, I think I could have had this all done by the time I've got my airbrush out, filled it, cleaned it and put it all away. I'd have it done with a paintbrush, less cleaning up. So I'm going to go along now, and I'm going to do all 3 trees, get them done in this brown, and then I'll come back to you when they're dried and we'll have a little look. Okay, now I've given that a coat of the brown, and I'm trying to put it in a position where you can actually see the different colour variations, and it's very difficult. For some strange reason the camera just doesn't want to pick it up, but there's all sort of lights and darks in there. Now I'm quite happy with it as it is. Now if you want, you can quite easily use a little bit of green to do a little bit of moss on it, and bits and pieces like that. That's your preference, that's up to you how you want it to look. I mean, you can spend a bit of time doing knots and holes and things like that. Me personally, I'm happy with that as they are. So what I'm going to move on to now is decorating it, and we'll look at a few ways that, and a few bits and pieces that you can actually use to decorate it up and make it look like a tree. Okay, a couple of quick options if you don't want to use seafoam. Now this stuff is, I think it's some sort of seaweed, I wouldn't swear on it. It's very cheap. You can get it off eBay, and you can just use this stuff and literally just glue it on, and it looks pretty good, to be honest with you. If I'm doing a couple of trees, I will mix and match. That is very easy to put on, not as stressful as doing seafoam, and it does look pretty good. I've just done a little bit there just to show you. So that is one of your options. Let's take my big hands out of the way. The second option is you can go and get some of this stuff. This is, they call it leaf litter, but it comes from the silver birch. Yeah, silver birch, and they're in most parks. And you collect the seed pods, dry it out. If you buy this stuff off eBay, I think they charge you about £5 a bag, but it's quite freely available in your local park. Now, if you use this, it makes your tree look more like cherry blossom, which it does look pretty good. But I'm not going to be using that at all. I'm going to be using this stuff. Now, this stuff is seafoam, and it's quite expensive actually. You pay about £9 a box. You get quite a few bits in there, but also you get a lot of broken bits, and as you can see, you can virtually use that as a tree itself, and it comes in many different guises, shapes. I use it a lot for backing, because I like to do my trees for the front. Now, this is the option I'm going for, is the seafoam, and like I say, you get plenty of broken bits at the bottom like that. They fall off, and they can be used to actually do the treat with. So without no further ado, we'll get set up and we'll start getting some seafoam put onto this tree. Now, putting the seafoam on, if I say to you it's going to be easy, I'm lying, because it's not. Because getting the first layer of seafoam on is the most difficult bit, and the reason is because we're using super glue. This is 5 to 10 seconds. We all know that it takes longer because it will stick when you don't want it to stick, and when you do want it to stick, it won't. It's the laws of averages. So what you have to do is find yourself little bits and pieces to, I'm going to use the top there, to actually prop your first sort of layer up, and you have to sort of find the bit that you're going to glue, and we'll have to work that way. We just use that as a prop. I know it looks a bit of a pain in the neck, but it's always worth it in the end. And I'm trying to do this cock-handed. So basically what we do, we find something to prop it up. We find our piece to actually glue on, and then we glue it on and prop it up, leave it for a few seconds and move on. And it's basically just this first layer at the bottom, because once you get this on, then you can actually sit it on top of the other stuff, and that bit's not going to stay. Yeah. And we'll just put a little bit more glue on there, and it's just like that. And I normally, when I'm making my trees, I'm normally doing something else, so I shall do a couple of bits and then I'll come back to it. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to stop the video. I should come back to it in a couple of seconds and we'll do the next bit. Right, battery again. Now, I found a few little lids, as you can see, and I've just gone where I can, glued them on. I'll just leave them for, what, 4 or 5 minutes, and then I'll come back to them and we'll start getting the bottom filled up. And that's how you do the bottom section. So I'm going to carry on and I should be back shortly. Back with you again. Now, I've gone all the way around the bottom limbs and I've glued seafoam on all the way around. So now I've got a good base to work from, so I can start on the next set of limbs, which there's about 3 layers altogether. All in all, it took me about an hour to put these bottom bits on, as I was just gluing them on, leaving them, and I was doing other things, and it roughly took an hour. So I'm going to carry on now, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this set of limbs above it. And like I say, once you've got the bottom ones on, it is very quick and easy then, because you've actually got something to rest your next layer on. So you'll be able to glue it and rest it on the bottom layer, and it's a lot easier and a lot quicker. So I'm going to get on with that, and I shall be back with you shortly. Okay, back again. Now, all I'm doing now is I'm just working around the tree, and as you can see, it's starting to fill out. And I'm just filling in gaps. Any bit of sea foam I've got, I'm just getting it stuck onto the branches and just building it up. Now I've only got one more tier left to do, so I'm going to complete that and then just go around and just find little gaps and fill it in, and that will be complete. So I'm going to do that and get it finished off, and then I shall be back. Okay, I'm back with you once again, and for the last time. I've done as much as I want to do at the moment on the tree. I think it looks pretty good. I might a bit later on just put a few little bits here and there, but I'm not sure yet. Total time I've been on this for is about 3 hours, and for 3 hours work, that doesn't look too bad. Now, if you don't really want to go all the way through the hassle of gluing all this stuff on, and it's like I said in the earlier clip, there's the sea, I think it's sea moss or whatever it is, that you can put on it, and it looks just as good. But if you want something realistic, I think that's as close as you're going to get, besides having the real thing. So that's how I do my trees. Thank you very much for joining me, and hopefully it's been of some use to you, and hopefully we'll see you on the next one. Thank you very much.